All right, guys. So today you have the quiz on big ideas. I shared my screen with you that shows the quiz, and I just wanted to walk you through the problems. So the first thing you'll have to do is make sure you recognize what shape it's talking about, and then you'll have to make sure to use the correct formula. So I thought would be a good idea is to write down our formulas for area. So we need to, sorry, make sure you guys can see. Oh, you can't see my paper. Sorry about that. So let me turn my document camera on. And, okay, so formulas for area. What we're gonna do is make sure we have these written down. So the first one is a parallelogram. Area equals base times height. Let's draw a quick little example of what a parallelogram looks like. We've got our base down here, and remember the height makes the right angle, that perpendicular line, base and height, base times height. Okay? Parallelogram can also be a rectangle. A square is also considered a parallelogram. Okay, so we've got our parallelogram. Let's go to triangle. So for a triangle, it's going to be the same, but just cut in half, right? So base times height divided by 2, or A equals 1/2 base times 1/2 base times height. Okay, so those are our two formulas that we are going to be using today. We've got our parallelogram and our triangle. So then let's draw a quick triangle. This will be my isosceles triangle. We've got my right angle. That shows me that this is my height and this is my base. Okay? All right, so let's see. Okay, so for the first question, it says find the area of the parallelogram. So all you have to do is multiply the base times the height. Same for this one, same for this one. For this one, you have to make sure that you count the boxes. So remember that you're counting the full boxes from one side of the shape to the other. So on this one, you're going to count from here to here. That's going to be worth the base. The height of the shape is going to be from the base all the way up to the top, or the other base of the shape. So 1, 2, 3 boxes to represent the height on that one. This one is a triangle, so make sure to use the formula for a triangle, base times height divided by 2. Same for this one, same for this one, same for this one. Now this one, it says the total, so this for 8, this one's a little tricky. So I'm going to help you guys with this one, just to explain it a bit. So for this one, it says the total area of the parallelogram and the triangle combined is 160 square meters. Find the value of x. So let's just go ahead and draw a picture on our paper. We've got this right here would be my parallelogram. So this is my base is 14. And then we've got 10 meters and then x. So we know that the height of both the triangle and the height of the parallelogram is 10. So we can figure out just the parallelogram because we have the base and height. So let's figure that out first. So to figure out the parallelogram, we're going to do 14 times 10. 14 times 10 plus, and then how would we figure out the area of this? So what we're trying to do ultimately is we're trying to like work backwards to figure out the base of the triangle. So let's say that we have, so we've got 14 times 10 plus 10 times x divided by 2. So that would be 10x over 2 is going to be equal to a total of 160 meters squared. So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. So if you think about it as, okay, well, I know that 14 times 10 is 140. You could take away that 140 from your total, right? Because we're trying to get down to just the x, just the triangle, right? We need to find the base of the triangle. So we could take away that 140 from the 160. And that would give us 20 meters squared. So what that means is if the total area of the shape here, if this whole thing is worth 160 and this is worth 140, then the area of the triangle has to be worth what? Now, if you know what the area is, right, then you can figure out, if we know what the area of the triangle is, then we can figure out what x has to be, right? Because half of x times 10 equals 20. So half of something times 10 equals 20. So half of something times 10 equals 20. Think of it that way. Okay, and that hopefully will help you figure out what x is. So I know that was maybe a slightly confusing. If you still don't get that one, tune in for office hours and I will help you a bit in more depth with that one. Okay. All right. Let's go to the next problem. So number 9 says a parallelogram shaped window is divided into 2 sections by a rectangular piece of wood. Find the total area of the glass surface. So what we're doing is we're essentially going to be taking the distance here, taking the distance between the 2 glass pieces and eliminating it. So we're going to eliminate that distance from our base. And then once we've done that, they're like pushed together, right? So all you really have to do is do 22, subtract that 4 inches, and then you'll have your new base. And then you just do your new base times your height, and you should get the area of that, of the glass. Okay. Number 10, the base and height of a triangular mainsail of a sailboat are, okay, so this is one where we're going to need to draw a picture. I can already tell. So the base and the height of a triangular mainsail of a boat, so we're going to just draw a sail, are 1.5 times greater than the base and the height of the boat's triangular staysail. So let's draw the second one. So this one is 1.5 times greater than this one. So whatever the base and height is here, we multiply both of those by 1.5, multiply the height by 1.5, and that will give us the base and height of the bigger triangle. How many times greater is the area of the mainsail than the area of the staysail? So this is where it gets tricky, because you remember we're talking in square units or square, does it say the measurement on here? No, it doesn't. So we're talking about square units. but we don't know what the base and height are of either of them, right? All we know is that the base of this big triangle is 1.5 times larger, and we know that the height of this triangle is also 1.5 times larger. So what we're going to do is when you don't know something, you can always guess and check. You can always plug values in and play around with it to see what it comes out to be. So I'm just going to say, oops, this is supposed to be a straight line, by the way. Because remember, your height is supposed to always be a perpendicular line. So sorry about that. Okay, so here's my height and base. So let's say that the small triangle, let's say that my base is worth 3 and my height is worth 5. So what we're going to do is we're going to figure out the area of the first one, and then we're going to multiply those by 1.5 and figure out the area of the second one. And then we'll see what the correlation or relationship is. So we're going to find area equals base times height, 3 times 5 divided by 2. So the area of this small one is going to be 15 divided by 2, which is 7.5. Right? So I've got 7.5 square units for the small one. Now, to figure out the area of this one, I'm going to multiply 3 by 1.5. So if I do 1.5, hopefully you guys can see this. Let me make sure. Okay. So if I do 1.5 times 3, we 4.5. So the base of the bigger triangle is 4.5. And then multiply your 5. And then you're going to multiply your 5 by 1.5 or 1.5. So 1.5 times 5, right? Because my height was 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 2 is 7. And then put your decimal in. So now my height is 7.5. Now I'm going to take 4.5 as my base and 7.5 as my height and figure out the area for this triangle. So I've got area equals base times height divided by 2. So I'm going to do 4.5 times 7.5 and divide that by 2. So let's do, and I'm kind of running out of room here. On a separate piece of paper, I'm going to do 4.5 times 7.5 so you guys don't get confused with all of my work. And then we'll divide it by 2. So 5 times 5 is 25. 5 times 4 is 20 plus 2 is 22. Placeholder, 7 times 5 is 35. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 3 is 31. And now I can add them. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 5 is 7. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then 3. So I've got 2 numbers behind the decimal. So 33.75. But then I have to divide that by 2. Okay. So I'm going to take 33.75 and divide it by 2. So 2 goes into 3 one time. 2 goes into 13 6 times. Put my decimal and bring down the 7. 2 goes into 17 8 times. And 2 goes into 15 7 times. And then add a 0. Sorry, I know this is going on forever. 10 divided by 2 is 5, and then I'm done. 16.875. So 16.875 is the area of this one. So 16.875 would be the area of this triangle, square units. And this is 7.5 units. So we're figuring out how many times larger is this one compared to this one. I'm going to just check my math with the calculator real quick. I feel like I might have done something wrong. So it's always good to check with the calculator, especially when you have all these decimals, because times 7.5 divided by 2, 16.85. Okay, so now when so now the question, if I go back to the question, is saying how many times greater is this triangle than this triangle? So if what I have to do now is I have to figure out 16.875. So what I'm actually going to do on the calculator is 16.875. I'm going to divide that by my other triangle, which was 7.5, and I get 2.25, which is the same as 2 1/4, right? Because 25 cents is worth a quarter. So 2 1/4. So this triangle is 2 1/4 times larger. Now, how could we get, so 2 1/4 larger? So even though the base and the height are only 1.5 times bigger, the area is 2 1/4 larger. Now, another way to do that is, if we're talking about square units. So I wanted to show you guys the rationale behind it. But if we're talking about square units, remember it's side times the other side for a square. So if we take 1.5 squared, right, because we're talking about square units, so 1.5 squared, or the second power, that's the same as 1.5 times 1.5, and guess what we get? 2.25. So instead of doing all of that work, since we know that it's squared, square units, I can do 1.5 to the second power, or 1.5 squared, and that will get me how many times larger this triangle is. Okay, so that one was a hard one. I want you guys to show your work on this one because it's definitely something that could be confusing if you don't actually try it for yourself. Okay, so I want you guys to plug in a value if you want to do something easier, like if you want base to be 2 and the height to be 4, you could do something like that instead. All right, let's go back to our okay, so that is it for the quiz. If you guys want me to show you any other problems, let me know. Otherwise, good luck.